Cyber Risks in 2025. My name is Vladimir Berda and I will be guiding you through this presentation. I have been working in occupational safety for almost 38 years and in cybersecurity for more than 3 years. Allow me to congratulate you because by being here, you will know more than the vast majority of the population in this country, and you are here just in time. You have the opportunity to learn something useful and thus avoid becoming blind sheep among wolves. That is the position most people find themselves in today, completely unaware of how easy targets they are for hackers. A new era of cybersecurity is beginning, as we can see in this picture. This is also supported by facts and figures. Companies and individuals are unable to keep up with the increasingly sophisticated cyber attacks carried out using artificial intelligence. The smarter ones are already at this presentation and will act accordingly. Those who do not take this into account will soon become the target of a cyber attack and will have to deal with the consequences. According to the latest surveys, 60 to 80% of targeted hacker attacks prove successful if an organization relies only on basic protection measures such as antivirus software and firewalls without advanced threat detection. Of these, 60% of small companies close within 6 months of a cyber attack, and Czech households face up to 11,000 cyber attacks per day. Year on year, cyber attacks in the Czech Republic have increased by more than a third, but in the UK by 50%, with attacks increasingly using artificial intelligence in 2025 and a new trend of attacks on cloud services and multi-factor attacks with AI targeting employees in supply chains. 30% of devices that connect to more sophisticated protections are hacked without their owners knowing. These are facts that can be found anywhere in sources related to cybersecurity. All you need to do is connect to a public Wi-Fi network, for example, and if you have sophisticated protection on your phone, the car will be able to see your history, as shown in this picture. But if you don't have such protection, an attacker can get into your device without you knowing it. Here you can see an example of a computer that was connected to a central security desk, where it was discovered what was installed on it. Here we can see around 20 pieces of malware installed on this device without the user's knowledge. A lot of ransomware was also found on the same computer, which was again revealed by a check at the central security desk. I would like to reiterate that the computer owner had no idea that something had been installed on their computer that did not belong there. Hackers began attacking small businesses and households on a large scale because it is much easier to break into these devices than into large corporations, which usually use very sophisticated protection that includes multiple layers, whereas small and medium-sized businesses and households usually only have some antivirus software and, at most, a firewall, which is very easy to overcome with the help of artificial intelligence. So hackers have turned their attention to these small entities, and the target of the attack is anyone who does not have sufficient protection, i.e. multiple layers of protection, as is the case with large corporations. You can see why hackers do this in this picture. Because the data they collect from our devices is relatively high in value, and they then sell it on the black market and earn very good money. For this reason, they try to do everything they can to avoid detection and therefore do not reveal themselves, so it appears on the surface that nothing is happening, that there are no cyber attacks, but you may have had someone living in your device for a long time. If you look up the statistics, you will find that cyber damage is estimated at $9.5 trillion worldwide, with a margin of error of $16 billion. In Europe, the damage is in the hundreds of billions of euros, but no one has calculated it yet, and in Czechia, 1,699 attacks have been reported. This is an increase of 38% compared to 2023, and the damage amounted to CZK 632 million. However, it should be added that such data theft, which is carried out on a daily basis, does not appear in these statistics because no one knows how much hackers sold this data for. The owners do not even know that their data has been stolen. Again, if we look at the statistics, we see that in 2024, there were 5.35 billion internet users, 5.61 billion mobile phones, and over 5 billion people using social networks. So when you connect to the internet, there may be as many as 2 billion people connected at the same time, and it is only a question of how many of those 2 billion are thieves targeting your device. It is important to realize that, compared to the fact that we have security locks on our apartments and offices everywhere, the number of people who will try to open our door handles to get inside is actually smaller than the number who will try to attack your electronic devices. In this context, it seems quite incomprehensible that we have security locks on the doors of our apartments, we lock our cars, we have security locks everywhere, but cyberspace is not protected at all. And that is also the reason why, when you look anywhere in the media, you will come across many reports relating to cyber attacks. And why do you think that is? The answer is simple. Everyone thinks they are secure, everyone has some kind of antivirus software, everyone thinks it doesn't concern them and it won't happen to them. There is a lack of awareness of cyber risks, and IT specialists usually think that it is enough, that everything is fine, they are not responsible for the consequences of cyber attacks, and so they have no motivation to know more, so they pretend that everything is fine and sometimes even claim that no further protection is needed. We are at the very beginning of cybersecurity, and this period is reminiscent of the early days of settlement. We see a simple settlement here, fenced in by a simple fence, which we can compare today to an antivirus program that protects our cyberspace. However, artificial intelligence has revolutionized cybersecurity, and today we can no longer rely on a simple fence, because the situation has shifted, just as it did during the Middle Ages, when we needed many layers of protection, as we can see in this picture. We have walls, arrow slits, drawbridges, and a garrison that is able to respond when an attacker approaches, because it receives reports from the watchtower. The purpose is to keep the enemy behind the walls, and the same is true today for proactive protection, which has multiple layers and is necessary to protect our devices. We can also illustrate this simply, as in this picture. On the left, we see an antivirus program, where there is a simple door, a piece of the wall is missing, and there is a simple lock, to which hackers still have a universal key. On the right, you can see the multi-layered protection that is necessary to secure our electronic devices. It's like having many doors in a row, each with a different security lock, so hackers have to overcome many obstacles and therefore prefer to focus on those with the doors on the left. In order to determine whether it is necessary to put up many obstacles for hackers, i.e., more doors behind each other, we need to ask ourselves some key questions. If you lost everything you have on your computer, phone, and backup, and someone stole and sold it, what would that mean to you, and how much would you be willing to pay to prevent that from happening? How much would you be willing to pay per year to protect your privacy, including the safety of your children? If you run a business, how would you continue if the situation described in point 1 occurred, meaning that the company would have nothing left that was stored on its computers or in its backups? You would have no accounting records, no orders, no invoices, nothing at all. There would also be a risk of a fine of CZK 20 million for violating the GDPR. If you were in this situation, how much would you be willing to pay to prevent this from happening? Does it make sense to protect your cyberspace and prevent the above from happening? Do you consider the security of your cyberspace to be important? Do you want to be sure that you are safe? If so, contact the person who sent you this presentation and they will help you solve this problem.